All right. So, my name is Ben, Dr. Ben, whatever you want to call me. So I am a child of God. I'm a husband, father, and also a chiropractor. And we're a well health and chiropractic office or center. And we're really focused on not only getting people out of pain or feeling better, but really teach them how to live just a full life. And that's, maybe this is just me, but for me, I believe that we're just called to live a full life. And I've got a coach, mentor, friend, a guy named Chip Dodd. Some of you may have heard of him, but he's got a quote that I think really hits the nail on the head, that we're emotional and spiritual creatures made to do one thing and one thing only in this world, and that is to live fully. So, we only do that in relationship with ourselves and with God and with other people. So that's really our goal, our mission, is to help other people live full lives. And everything sort of does that. Like pecan trees try to live a full life, and porpoises try to live a full life, and possums, I guess they run out in the road. They try to live, everything tries to live a full life, and that's what we're designed to do. And we can't really do that without our health. So that's really kind of all this ties, how it all ties in. And the World Health Organization, all the definitions are kind of the same, but it's the optimal state or complete physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being. I would probably put spiritual in there too. It's not just the absence of sickness or disease. So just because you feel good doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy, and just because you're not having an emotional breakdown doesn't always mean you're emotionally healthy. So it's moving toward the optimal state of all those three. Our focus today is mostly on the physical. That's really that's kind of our forte, so we're going to talk about how that ties in. We believe very clearly that we're designed to eat the way God made us to eat. We're designed to move the way God made us to move so that we can live the way we're designed to live. That's just, I didn't create myself, so something made me, so I need to live the way that thing made me to live. And that's, I don't know, what you may hear us use the word God a couple times or throughout this, and for whatever your interpretation of that is, whether it's Mother Nature or the aliens on the spaceship, or it all just happened by big accident, dirt, time, and heat. So whatever that is, for us, it's God. We were made, we're designed to live a certain way. There's certain principles our bodies are governed by, and there's certain ways if we do things that we get better results. And that's what we're going to try to teach. So it'd be nice with nutrition if it was this simple, so you just eat less crap and eat more food. So less carbonated drinks, refined stuff, artificial sweeteners, processed food, and then fruits and veggies, organic proteins, omega fats, and water. So thank you guys for coming out. Everybody kind of knows that, right? That's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of myths when it comes to nutrition. I think more so than almost any other. Whether it's exercise, there's a lot of myths there too, which we're going to cover. But really, mostly with food and nutrition, it's that much more pervasive. Where do we get our information about health, or in food really in general? Where does nutrition information come from?
Labels.
Where's that?
Food labels. Food
labels, yep. What about the information that comes to us? Advertisements, media, internet, the radio, TV, whatever. People read newspapers anymore. The media drives our nutritional information, sadly. Most of us don't really read a lot of labels, although I wish we did more of. And when we do read them, half of us don't know what half of it means. And we don't spend time with our doctor so he can teach us. A lot of the doctors don't even know much about nutrition. We won't go there. But they don't spend time teaching us what nutrition is, so we're getting it from the media. And does the media really care about health, or are they mostly interested in profits and money and shareholders? That's really the driver. So a lot of these myths have been pervaded. 1 and 2 should not necessarily go together. But number 1 is that fat makes you fat. And I think we've all, if you grew up in the 80s, you've seen low-fat cookies and low-fat milk and low-fat cereal, low-fat everything, right? Low-fat ice cream nowadays, right? But there's more high-fat people than we've ever seen in recorded history, by far unimaginable if we looked at this 50 years ago. So fat doesn't make you fat. It's when your body can't efficiently burn it, which is what we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you how to be a fat burner and not a sugar burner. And when you consume healthy fats, the good fats actually help you burn fat. So if you want to be a fat burner, you got to eat lots of fat. Like it's counter to what we've been told, but if you want to be a fat burner and be healthy and not have a lot of inflammation and pain and want to sleep good and have energy, you got to eat lots and lots of fat. So if you're here for a low-fat diet plan, you're in the wrong place. So this ain't it. Grains. Well, first of all, what's an example of a healthy fat? Before I start showing you the pictures that give it away. Everybody says avocados first and coconut oil next. What else?
Nuts.
Nuts, good. Olive oil's a great one.
Yeah. Like grass-fed beef.
Yep, grass-fed beef. Yeah, that's one a lot of people don't get. So fat that comes from, what's that? MCT oil.
Yeah.
Hint to the secret ingredient in the coffee, which we'll talk about in a minute. Yeah, eggs, fantastic. So we'll talk about all the options. Grains. This is where I usually lose about half of the population because we've all been taught that whole grains are healthy, and if you want to have your B vitamins and your fiber and you want to ever go to the bathroom again, you got to eat lots and lots of grains, right? Two things are wrong with grains. Number one is that they turn to sugar very quickly. So if you eat whole grain bread, the healthy stuff that we're supposed to eat, which is whole grain bread, how quickly does that turn into mush? Like immediately, before it gets to like your frontal area, right? So that mush is sugar. So before it ever even gets into your stomach, the lysozyme, the lipase in your saliva breaks it down into sugar before it ever reaches the stomach. The other thing that's wrong with grains is they contain a lot of gluten a lot of times, unless they're gluten-free. But gluten is an inflammatory protein. It really didn't exist, not in the form that we consume it 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Jesus was not eating Wonder Bread, and he was not drinking Yellowtail wine. Like it was not even the same species, literally. Remember the song Amber Waves of Grain? We all heard that, right? Well, they don't have amber waves of grain. They have these little dwarf crops that are forced into like a little 18-inch pallet where they're all hybridized and they're genetically modified and they're loaded with gluten. It's highly inflammatory and highly toxic. So gluten it's bad for a lot of people, but not everybody. Some people can tolerate it, some people can't, but it's better if you don't have it. Milk does the body good. So if I didn't lose you on the grains, usually the milk is where we lose the other half. So we're going to save a little time for that. Then they have these like southern euphemisms like, oh, it ain't going to kill you, little dirt never hurt, you got to die of something anyway. My grandmother smoked till she was 80, and she lived, like all that stuff we've grown up believing or using as excuses to justify bad behavior. And that nutrition doesn't matter. Like as you take your Centrum, or if you got good genetics, like it really doesn't make that much of a difference. Nothing could be further from the truth. Like what you eat is what you are. The cells you have are based on what you put in. So your body is literally a production of what you are putting into your body. So we've seen people lose 20, 30, 40 pounds in a month or two or three. We've seen people completely reverse type 2 diabetes, which is easy. And I want you to hear me say that. Reversing type 2 diabetes is easy. It's not easy to do it, but the game plan is easy. That is a, I don't know, 500 billion, close to $1 trillion industry just in of itself. In the next 7 to 8 or 9 years, it's expected about 1 out of 2 adults over the age of 50 will be type 1 diabetic. So it's going to collapse our entire culture when you have cancer and heart disease and everything else with it. But it's way easier than we think. And then breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I'm going to hold on to that one for a little bit too. When it comes to foods, I was raised in the egg generation where you kind of, like eating cholesterol raised your cholesterol. I think we've heard that at some point. That is total misnomer, bad information. Eating cholesterol has no effect on your blood serum cholesterol levels. It has to do with inflammation, which usually has to do with sugar and grains and dairy. We'll talk about that in a moment. But this thing, really the best multivitamin is God gave us what we need. It's in there. As we've had the Bible's probably the best nutrition book that's ever been written. We just got to follow it, right? I love this. Jordan wanted me to put this in there. But I said you're the good kind of fat. No, you're good. So yeah, avocados are extremely health beneficial. They're kind of the perfect fat, perfect food, easy to transport. There's some other ones like you need to know your store. You guys know this? Where are you supposed to shop?
Around the outside.
Perimeter, right? So like the devil's in the middle, and then like the better stuff's on the outside. It's not all true, because you have some things on the outside like dairy. We got to watch out. We'll talk about in a minute. Some like soy. Do you guys remember when soy was a health food? That was touted as like a health food. Do we know why soy's bad?
Tastes terrible.
Tastes terrible. And that's the biggest reason. It tastes awful. And if you try to convince me, those little soy chicken nuggets, those little tofu chicken, that is not a chicken nugget. I was raised on chicken nuggets, and that is not a chicken. Yeah, soy's processed. So soy is genetically modified. About 98% of all the soy crop in America is genetically modified, which we'll talk about in a second. And it's it's a xenoestrogen. So most soy, when it's processed and it's genetically modified, mimics estrogen in the body. So if you eat soy, they say it turns little boys into little girls and little girls into cancer patients. So it literally does that at the cellular level. That's not to be insensitive for people that are struggling with cancer, but literally there's things we eat in our diet that are driving this epidemic. If you're married and you're a man, spend a lot of time in that bottom right-hand section. That'll change your whole life. But you gotta be careful. Some of the stuff we need is in that middle section too, like your coconut milk, and there's some snacks that we can eat in there. So it's not all bad. Those are just guides. Label reading, do's and don'ts. The less number of ingredients, the better. So like an egg doesn't have very many things on the label. The ingredient is egg. So the less number, the better. If it has natural, like if you can't pronounce it, probably ain't good for you. It's a good southern euphemism. Eat foods that don't have veggie or labels, like veggies or eggs or fruit, like they don't even have a label. That's even better. Check for 30 days. You mentioned label reading. Read everything on everything you buy. So you don't have to put it back. Just read it, just so you know what you're putting in. You'll be amazed when you read it. You kind of no. So read what you put in your body, and then put things back. Generally, if it's grown from a ground, it's good for you. If it's God-made, it's good for us. If it's man-made, it's not. In general, in our household, we don't do everything perfectly God-made, grass-fed, organic. Or that's not. We're like 80-20. Right? 80% American and 20% healthy. 80% healthy, 20% American. Butchered that. So 80-20. That's the goal. So there's some examples of some healthy fats, how the ketogenic diet works. Those are kind of some of your staples. We'll go through that in a minute. Quality over quantity. You guys ever done like the calorie counting? You may ever counted calories? I did that for like an afternoon one time. Literally, I made it through breakfast, and I got halfway through lunch, and I said, forget. Like, if this is what it takes, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing that. Quality matters more than quantity. And the easiest way to prove that to you, if you've ever had a nutritionist say that it's calories in versus calories out, like that is such 70s research. It's not even research, really. But 100 calories of Mountain Dew and 100 calories of broccoli are metabolically inflammatory. It's just two different things, right? So it's not the calories, and plus with broccoli, it takes your body roughly the amount of calories that's in it to process it, break it down, and turn it into you. So it's almost a net negative in a lot of cases with veggies and sometimes even with these fats. So quality matters more than quantity. MSG, you guys have heard this, like don't buy, where's MSG? Chinese restaurant, everybody knows that, right? Well, it's also in just about every packaged food you can imagine. You turn over like Ritz crackers and Goldfish and every cereal on the aisle. If you look, and now they know that you know that MSG is bad. So they won't call it MSG. They're smarter than that. So they call it hydrolyzed yeast extract or autolyzed vegetable protein. So if you see hydrolyzed or autolyzed, know that that's MSG. And MSG is very toxic, like highly neurotoxic. It tastes so good because it excites our taste buds to death. It's an excitotoxin, so it tastes good because it literally excites them to death. Kills nerve tissue almost on contact. Now they can call MSG flavoring or additive. They don't even have to really like name it. They can just call it flavoring. The sweeteners to avoid. Sucralose or Splenda, that's the yellow stuff, right? Do you guys know what that was supposed to be before it became a sweetener? It wasn't intended to be a sweetener at first. Is what it was? Like pesticide, literally.
Nice.
Pest control. So it's a chlorinated sugar molecule. That little yellow packet is made from sugar. They take a sugar molecule and they kick off an OH group and they add a chlorine atom. So you're literally consuming chlorine. So when you're, I think the only reason Splenda is still around, because they marketed it as being like made from sugar, the data is not really compiled yet. Like aspartame, we sort of knew like 10 years ago that is not good for us. Well, like Splenda's the next down the line. Equal aspartame. Do you guys know what aspartame, NutraSweet, what it turns into when it heats up to your body temperature? You're right. So it turns into formalin, which is a reduced form of formaldehyde. So when we eat a lot of Splenda, or a lot of Equal or NutraSweet, we're embalming ourselves. So like your funeral costs go down, like healthcare costs go up, but then funeral costs go down. Hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated, that's a code word that we all need to know. If you ever hear hydrogenated or partially, that's a code word for a certain kind of fat that you need to avoid. You know what that is? It starts with T. Trans fat. So anytime you see hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated, that is a trans fat. Highly inflammatory. It's sort of like the opposite of a healthy fat. So if healthy fats reduce inflammation and make you skinnier and give you less cancer and heart disease, then trans fats make you fatter and sicker and worse, right? They're polar opposites. But on the back of the label, it says fat, X number of grams. So we've got to know how to read our labels, mainly by reading the ingredients. And then avoiding refined flours, additives, preservatives, the less of that stuff, the better. 80-20, right? With labels, always read the back. So they can lie to you and us on the front, but they got to tell the truth on the back. Like that says no trans fat, and it clearly has trans fat in it. How do they get away with that? It's criminal, but how do they get away with that? They tell you there's none, but there's clearly some. It's serving size. They've lobbied Congress so that if there's less than 500 milligrams per serving, then they can tell you that there's none in the product. Not that there's just a little bit, but there's physically none. So you got to read the back, and then read the French or whatever language that is, and then read that. Like read all of that, and then ignore the front, just to be safe.
Isn't it true that the big first ingredient is usually the one that's got the most
quantity-wise, typically. Yep. So this is a product that Jordan came across. It says, warning, this product contains chemicals known to the state of California to cause cancer and birth defects and other reproductive problems, I think that's it, or reproductive harm. That's what it is. Yes, it was made in Korea, but a lot of things that we eat are also made in Korea, whether you believe it or know it or not. So you got to read the labels. If you're going to eat foods that have labels, you got to read them. The most toxic stuff are the sodium nitrites. By the way, this first part of the presentation is like the depressing, what you need to avoid and telling you everything you're doing is wrong. And then the next step is kind of how we do it, the hope and the game plan. Where do we get sodium nitrites? Like where's that found? Bacon. So potted meat, processed meat, sausage, bacon, non-organic processed meat. Hydrogenated oils is a code word for what?
MSG.
Trans fats, right, good job. Excitotoxins, that's MSG, food dyes, refined flours, high fructose corn syrup, probably the second or third highest level of concentration of mercury that we're ever exposed to in America is from high fructose corn syrup. It's highly loaded, highly refined, it's loaded with mercury. Do you know where else we get mercury from?
Fish.
Fish, yes, but we don't eat a lot of fish. Like our fish consumption is pretty poor unless you live in the Gulf or you live in Alaska. Like if you live in Nashville, you ain't getting fresh fish. Sorry. Where else? Yep, fillings, right. If you got those silver fillings, anybody got the silver fillings in your mouth? So like scoot away from those people, move back, because it literally that's leaching mercury vapor. There's a good video on YouTube called Smoking Tooth, where they extract a silver filling and they put it in front of a phosphorescent screen and they rub it with like a toothbrush and it smokes like a cigarette with mercury vapor. So it's literally bleaching, and they poke it with like a dental tool or a toothpick, and the plume gets bigger. So there's a safe dentist. You got to get a safe dentist to remove, or like a holistic dentist to take those out. And the other big one that we're exposed to is annual flu shots. And this may step on a lot of toes, but the reality is that trivalent flu shot, the one that everybody gets around this next few months or so, has about 25 micrograms of mercury per shot. And that's injected, not ingested. So we say, well, there's mercury in fish. Well, we're eating it. We're not shooting it into our muscle. So it's a different mechanism of how it gets exposed to our liver and our brain and our kidneys. Do the research on that one. I don't want to step on too many toes. Sugar, pesticides, additives, and preservatives. Those are the most toxic, almost kind of in order. And then, Jordan.
So you're
Oh,
going.
there we go. Got it. Whoops. Perfect. Top 10 healthy swaps. So as we're moving, you know, there's easy switches that we can make, like salad dressings, either making your own with lemon or olive oil, Newman's, Annie's, Tessemae's, Primal Kitchen. There's a lot of good brands that are healthy and don't have the organic or the hydrogenated oils. Kicking the sugar habit. I love candy. Like I've come away from it since I've been doing this diet, but I'll skip to number 3. Deli and packaged meat, so switching to clean, organic sources. So when you're moving to organic, always switch your meat first. Why would we switch meat before veggies? Like before you switch your fruits and veggies, always make sure you go with your meat organic first.
Wash it.
No, and it's, yeah, true, and it's the age of the animal, or the tomato. So animals are 3-4 years old, so they've accumulated toxins for years, and you're eating whatever they've accumulated for years. A tomato has a month or 2 of pesticides. So the volume of exposure is more in animals versus fruits and veggies. White bread, sprayed produce, stone ground. And by the way, too, with organic, white bread, whole ground spread. So if you're going to do bread, you want to switch to sprouted bread. That's the ideal. We don't do much bread in our house, but when we do you guys know what sprouted bread is also called?
Is it Ezekiel?
Ezekiel. Yep. It's
They put it in the
biblical.
freezer, right?
Yep, it's freezer. And if your bread lasts for 2 weeks on your countertop, that should bother us. Like, there's something wrong with that if it doesn't go bad after a week sitting on the counter. Clean 15 and dirty dozen, which we're going to talk about in a second. When you're cooking, margarine. You guys ever seen I Can't Believe It's Not Butter? What is it?
Plastic.
Plastic. It's plastic. It's honestly, it's plastic. We're eating plastic. So low temperatures, butter and olive oil. So you got to keep that low so you're not, if you heat it, it turns a good fat into a bad fat. The quickest way to turn a healthy fat into a trans fat is to get a healthy fat too hot. So if you heat butter and olive oil above 120 something odd degrees, it starts to smoke, and when it smokes, it's rancid. So you want to keep that at lower temperatures. Higher temperature stuff is grapeseed or coconut oil. That you can set it ablaze, like have fun. You can't heat that too much. Those are your high temperature oils. Drinks, we switch to like organic tea and coffee if possible. Water, Zevia, kombucha. Anyone ever had kombucha?
I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome, right? It's like a lacto
I've made
fermented
it before.
fizzy wine. It's fantastic without the side effects. GMO, reading labels. I don't have time to go into GMOs. GMO stands for genetically modified. It's like 98% of the soy crop. It's 86 or so % of the wheat crop. The corn is 80+%. So literally, almost all non-organic farming is genetically modified crops. And what we know is that your immune system recognizes that genetically modified seed or crop as an invading organism. So your body's attacking your food as if it's like a pathogen, like it's a bacteria or a virus, because it sort of is, because it's spliced genetically with all those things. So we're creating an inflammatory response, an autoimmune inflammatory response inside the body when we're eating all these GMO foods. So farmer's market, buying local, knowing the farmer, that's sort of the way we get out of that. Organic instead of commercial dairy, I'm going to save that for a moment. The clean 15 and dirty dozen. You guys ever heard this before? So there's some foods like organic or when you're buying veggies and fruits, there's things that you don't ever want to waste your money buying organic. It's a little bit of a waste of money. And there's some things that you always want to try to buy organic. Like that's every chance you get, try to buy these organic and avoid these. So the best way to remember this without memorizing the list, if they spray the pesticide and it lands on the part that you eat, so if it lands on the outside of the apple, then always get that organic, because they're not spraying pesticides that you're eating. If it lands on the part that you're peeling off, like watermelon, or bananas, like don't get that organic. It's a little bit of a waste of money. Unless you got the money to spare, then let it rip. But for budgeting reasons, unless you're eating the outside of the banana, you got bigger issues than organic probably. Don't eat that organic. So like corn, like cabbage, you get the point. So
Well, what about asparagus?
yep, some of these don't make sense, like asparagus
Yeah, or broccoli.
and broccoli. So my dumb joke is, even bugs don't like asparagus and broccoli, so they don't have to spray pesticides. That was actually a good joke. So yeah, like apples are the worst. Apples and peaches are kind of the worst. But at the store, it's hard because the organic apples look like squished. The non-organic ones look great. Like they're big and fat and juicy, and they're like half the price. And the organic ones are small and they're bruised. They look like they've been like kicked down the grocery aisle, and they cost twice as much, right? If we spend money on things that make us healthier, is that an investment or is that an expense? Investment. Do we really believe that though? Are we saying that because it's the right answer, or do we really believe if we spend money on things that make us healthier, chiropractic care, exercise, nutrition, supplements, food, if we spend money on things that make us healthier, is that truly an investment or is it truly an expense? Like, it truly is an investment. Because you can spend more money now on better food and chiropractic and supplements and now, or you can spend more money on cancer and diabetes and insulin, all these other things later. So it's spend now. We got to take food and health out of the cable TV category. Like, it's not even the same part of the budget as the iPhone and the gas bill. Like it's two different things. It's my soapbox. So organic has a ton of good data, research. It's coming out in droves. It's not like some hippie movement that's going to be gone in 10 years. Just ride it out. All this organic stuff is going to go away. It's here to stay, hopefully. So all the pesticides are linked to nervous system issues and immune system suppression, childhood cancers. We have literally an epidemic of babies, really, kids that are developing horrible cancers. Like the numbers are coming out in droves, and they're blaming it on bad genetics. Like we have a genetic epidemic, which doesn't even make any sense, but it's not genetic. Kids are getting sicker, and parents are getting sicker and having sicker kids, and the whole population as a whole is getting sicker, and that's part of the puzzle. Breast cancer, diabetes, reproductive damage, hormone problems, and asthma, ADD, ADHD, and autism. Do you guys know what the autism rates were 30 years ago? Like 1 in 10,000. So about 1 in 10,000 kids were considered autistic, or on the autism spectrum. Do you guys know what the numbers are today?
Less than 1 in 100.
Yeah, less than 1 in 100, about 1 in 36. In the next 7 years, if the rates keep climbing the way they've been climbing, in 7 years it'll be 1 in 2 boys will be on the autism spectrum. That's tragic, because those parents go through unimaginable, not even the emotional, but the cost and the lost time of work. I mean, 1 out of 2 boys, that's our workforce, that's our military, that's our police, that is our infrastructure. So if something doesn't change, we're going to see a massive shift. And I'm not Chicken Little, the sky doesn't have to be falling, but it is if we don't do something about it. Migraine, and that whole argument that we're just better at diagnosing it now than we were 30 years ago, meet me afterwards, we'd love to talk about it. Migraine headaches, growth developmental delays, you get the point. So when you eat organic foods, they have higher levels of cancer-fighting antioxidants. So you got more of the good stuff, and you have less of the bad stuff. So the kids that ate organic had 6 to 9 times less pesticides. So you win on both sides of the coin, because you get more healthy stuff and you get less bad stuff. So it's a pretty simple shift. All right, here we go. Milk. Milk does a body what? Awful. Good answer. So we've all seen these celebrities with their milk mustache, and they're well-meaning, like they're I don't know how much they're getting paid, but they're trying to get a message across that we got to get better nutrition to our kids, and what 2 vitamins and minerals do we need out of milk that we have to be healthy?
D.
And calcium, right? Well, guess which country consumes the most amount of milk in the world by far? The U.S. Guess which country has the highest rates of osteoporosis in the world by far? Right. So we're talking about other. So pasteurized and homogenized are 2 of the big reasons that milk is bad for us, because they heat it up to a really high temperature, and then they separate it out to where it passes through the gut and causes gut bowel inflammation and allergies and diabetes and eczema and asthma and obesity. If you want sick kids, give lots and lots of cow's milk, because really, unless they're a calf, they probably shouldn't be drinking cow's milk, unless it's from the cow. Like raw milk is different. This is not the same animal. So commercial dairy, this is kind of what we're talking about at Kroger and Publix, sort of your run-of-the-mill stuff. They're using the sickest animals, the sickest cows on earth, really. These are not the Hillsborough Road cows. You drive down Hillsborough Road, they're not those happy cows that are like out in the field. These cows are standing in like a pen that's about the size of my body, and they're standing in their own feces on a concrete slab under a ventilation system with no sunshine. They're eating corn all day, grain all day long. When you give an animal grain all day long, guess what it does to that animal? It makes them fat and makes them sick. And right before it kills them, they kill it. They literally feed that cow corn and grain until it just about kills them. They load them with antibiotics and vaccines so that they can drag it out a little bit longer. And then they slaughter them, or they use their milk and they give it to us. That's how the system works. Contains a tremendous amount of pus. So if you think you're getting away from pus by drinking Purity brand whatever, you're drinking pus. Anybody ever had raw milk? Raw milk? You seen that little label that's on it? It says, warning, this is not for human consumption. It's only for pets. Like you legally can't sell raw milk in Tennessee. Like you can sell cigarettes, but you can't sell raw milk. That makes a lot of sense. Like it makes a lot of money, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you buy raw milk, you got to do like a drug deal in the parking lot. You got to meet your dealer, and you got to be kind of careful because you get trouble. So it's really a weird situation. So in our world, and plus with raw milk, you just pick out the hair and the dirt, and you would never even notice. Like it tastes. I'm kidding. Doesn't have any hair and dirt. So what to do? So with milk, mother's milk is best. So mom's milk is not what we're talking about. Mother's milk is God's gift to the world. That's how we're supposed to thrive and live. It's not the same thing. But if mom is not available, or she's not local, the next best is raw milk, or at least go organic or grass-fed. At a bare minimum, at least go grass-fed. That way you're not getting the pesticides. The organic gets rid of some of that. The cows are healthier. And we just do almond milk or coconut milk. You can get it at Walgreens now. It's so easy to find. Higher levels of calcium. We'll talk about that in a second. And then when it comes to calcium, so here's milk. About 100 calories of milk gives you about 245 milligrams of calcium, which, by the way, because they pasteurize it, it warps it. So it makes the calcium we're consuming, I don't want to say unabsorbable, but it's unabsorbable. Pretty close to non-usable. So you get about 245 milligrams. If you eat 100 calories of arugula, you get about 1,300. Watercress is 800. Collards is 583. And spinach is 450. So where do cows get their calcium?
Grass.
They like chase each other around.
Grass?
No, they eat grass. They eat vegetation. They get their calcium from the earth, which is where we should get our calcium from. The pros and cons. So raw dairy, when you're going raw, if you don't get arrested, it's an excellent source of vitamins, minerals, potassium, and calcium. CLA, which we actually carry in the office, fights inflammation. So pasteurized cow's milk actually increases inflammation, which is why it sucks the calcium out of our bones and causes osteoporosis. So it's highly inflammatory. So when we drink pasteurized conventional cow's milk, we're weakening our bones. Who knows that? Like, that's not the message we're being sold. It's the exact opposite. When we makes into yogurt, kefir, high doses of gut-friendly probiotics, which those get killed when you heat something up to 168 degrees. Guess what it does to the healthy bacteria? Wipes it out. And then vitamin D, somebody mentioned that earlier. How many glasses of milk do you need per day to get your vitamin D requirement? You might know? 111. Yeah, you need about 111 to get your 10,000 international units of vitamin D from cow's milk. You need about 111 glasses per day. So good luck. That's your cons. Commercial dairy is loaded with hormones and antibiotics. That's how they get those big fat sick cows. Lactose, which people know that's bad. Casein, it's a very poor protein to use, especially for kids. It's highly inflammatory. We'll watch kids come off of cow's milk and their nose clears up and their sinuses get better. Like that stuff gets better within like a week of that. The ketogenic diet, that's what we're teaching. So our goal is to get you to move toward the ketogenic diet. That's keto. Some people heard it called different things. It's become sort of like a gimmicky buzzword. We've been teaching it for years, but it's now popular, not because of me or our office. So the proven benefits, it reduces inflammation. Do you guys know what diseases are linked to inflammation?
All of them.
Yeah, all of them.
Yes.
All of them. Any disease, just about any disease of modern man that you can name is linked in part or in full to inflammation. So that's beautiful, because if we can get rid of inflammation, then we kind of get rid of all these other diseases, or at least we make a big impact in cancer, and allergies, and asthma, and diabetes, and heart disease, and colon cancer, and GERD, and IBS, and arthritis, and back pain, and headaches, and like all these things are linked to the fire that's burning inside of you because of all the inflammatory process. Improved fat burning, that's just a nice benefit because you look better in a bathing suit. Mental clarity, sharpness, abundant energy, clear skin, reduced cravings, mitochondrial biogenesis, anti-aging, and reduce the risk of chronic disease. So there's not many reasons not to do it. I mean, that's pretty but how do you do it? That's the question. So this is Jordan's slide. I think it's beautiful, but non-functional. No, it is functional. So this is kind of you guys remember the food pyramid?
Yeah.
In like school? We'll take it and like turn it upside down. You've probably heard this before. Like turn it upside down, and that's what we should be eating, more or less. So all like the fats and the oils and the healthy grass-fed beef, like that was the little bitty piece at the top. Like that should be the basis of most of our food choices. And then you have like your greens and veggies, and then you have a little bit of cheese and nuts and seeds, and then you have your tomatoes, your a little more starchy veggies and fruits. So, whoops. So in the keto food pyramid, and again, this can get a little overwhelming. So if you say, well, there's no way I can get rid of like potatoes, like I'm gonna have to eat a potato, that's fine. It's just we're moving in this direction. Like perfect. I used to hide behind that. Like I'm gonna eat pizza on Friday. Why would I eat a salad today if I'm gonna eat pizza on Friday? Like it doesn't, like that all or none sort of thing. Like that works in pregnancy. Like all or none works in pregnancy. That's about it. Like everything else, you're either moving in one direction or you're moving in the other. So you take a bite of a strawberry, you're moving in one direction. You take a bite of curly fries, you're going in the other direction. So it's not all or nothing. It's a spectrum, and it's between that we're moving. So you're eliminating or reducing breads, corn, sugar, potatoes and starches, milk, all beans, and all grains. That's a biggie for most people, because how could all grains be bad for you? I'm not saying they're all bad. They just they keep you out of ketosis, which we're going to talk about. So nuts, seeds, meat, fish, healthy sources. So these are organic, free-range, grass-fed, healthy, pastured animals. That's the basis for the meat. And then we have our veggies, and then we have our berries and our fruits. And nuts, seeds are kind of up in here too. This is a patient of ours, and she was brave enough to give us her pictures. But she did amazing. So 12 weeks of keto, and she wasn't even exercising, I don't think, Jordan said. She would just the diet only. So I don't know how many pounds she lost, but she looks fantastic, feels better, more energy. She's kind of like a whole different person. So she's come back in before and since, and like her energy is better. Her sparkle is in her eye. She sleeps better. She has more energy. Her husband says she's in a better mood. Like it's all the above, and that's her hubby. So I think she was a little skeptical about using her picture. in this thing, he was ready. He's like, put it on the front porch. So he did 12 weeks, and he did a training program too, but both did amazing. That's just pretty typical. That's not even like amazing, fantastic results, although it is amazing for them. But it's not abnormal. So I came up with this. This is mine. If you see this anywhere else, this is from me. Turn off your G, P, and S. So there's 3 categories of food we want to try to avoid or eat less of. And if the one starts with G, which we all should know by now, grains. P is processed food or dairy, processed food in general. And the S is big shocker, sugar. Those are 3. So that GPS, when we set our GPS to G, P, and S, to grains, processed dairy, and sugar, we're driving toward cancer and heart disease and diabetes and allergies and Alzheimer's and dementia and no time with our grandkids and bankruptcy and divorce a lot of times, because the #1 cause of bankruptcy is actually health problems. You guys know that? #1 cause of bankruptcy in the U.S. is medical bills. Unpaid medical bills is 73% of all bankruptcies in the United States. And over half of all those bankruptcies were by people who had more than adequate medical benefits. So they had insurance. They were insured, they were covered, but they still had to file a bankruptcy because it still didn't cover all the care they needed to keep them healthy. Here's how we do like a 1-2 punch. So keto is fantastic, and it's a guide. For me, it's a little undoable forever. Like I'm going to eat pizza. I guess I had pizza last night. But if you combine it with intermittent fasting, it's like 1 + 1 = 6. So they say that you're doing ketogenic diet plus intermittent fasting together, you get about a 6 times greater benefit than doing either one by themselves. I kind of find that hard to believe, but it certainly worked in my own trial and error. So intermittent fasting, some of you guys have heard this, but you're eating in a short window, no more than 8 hours. So you really, 6 hours works a little better, a little harder but better, and then 8 hours is kind of like 8 hours is okay. And with this too, the closer to that you get, the more you're going to benefit your body. Let's talk about how it works first. So when we eat food, so when we eat our dinner, the stuff that we eat, the protein and the carbohydrates are turned, whatever your body doesn't need right that second, it gets turned into sugar, glucose. So that gets stored in your liver. So you eat your dinner and your body starts storing glucose in your liver, and then when it's full, when you've totally capped out or maxed out your liver, then it's sent to the bloodstream and it's stored as fat cells. So the excess that your liver can't hold is actually stored in your body as fat cells. You're with me on that? So that's how that works. And then what happens is you stop eating, and then overnight when you're sleeping, your liver starts becoming depleted of sugar. But then what happens is we get to like breakfast time, and then we start eating again. And then we eat a little bit, and then we wait until lunch, and then we eat a little more, and then we eat too much, and then it goes to more fat cells. So this 6 times a meal, the 6 meals a day, eat small meals. Anybody ever heard that before? 6 small meals a day. That's about the worst thing you can do if you want to be in ketosis. If you want your body to use fat for fuel instead of sugar for fuel, the worst thing you can do is eat breakfast and eat 6 meals a day. It's the worst thing we can do. Now, eating 6 meals a day can be better for you if you're eating 2 garbage meals a day. So like if you're eating fast food and you're eating too much when you eat dessert every night, like 6 meals can be better. But we're going for the best. So the key is to deplete your liver, which takes about 10 to 12 hours. 8 to 12, depending on, about 10 hours, your liver's out, like it's done. So what your body has to do is it has to scramble. So it's got to look for food, it's got to look for fuel source. You no longer have glucose stored in the liver, so now it has to empty the fat cell for fuel. So it's literally pulling ketones out of the fat cell in order to use them for fuel. And your brain preferentially prefers ketones. You guys know that? It would rather burn sugar than it would rather burn fat than rather burn sugar. So would your kidneys, and so does your liver. Like that literally, when they're using not liver, kidneys and pancreas, they would much rather use ketones. So that's the key. So we're using ketones for fuel, or fat for fuel makes you a fat burner, and when you keep filling up your liver and spilling over, you're a sugar burner. Does that make sense? So the secret to this, or one little tricks that we use, is about 5 in the morning. So I usually get up at 5-ish. I actually get up at 4:55 because screw you 5 o'clock. Like, I can beat 5 o'clock. Right? So 4:50, I don't always get up. That's when my alarm sets. So then I usually get up 11. But I try to set my alarm because like, what's 5 o'clock? I can beat that. But then I do my coffee, and in your coffee you want to add healthy fats. So we use this MCT oil. It tastes like pina colada. We're going to put it in the smoothie that we're going to do in a minute. But that adds a good healthy serving because remember, your liver's depleted and your body's already searching for fat to use for fuel. So giving it a little bit of fat, not too much but a little bit, teaches your body it conditions our body to use fat for fuel on a regular basis. If you don't have this, you can use like scooped coconut oil, ghee, raw organic grass-fed butter. You could scoop that and then drink that in your coffee, and it tastes phenomenal. So that's the key. But no sugar in your coffee, and we want to avoid half and half. Anything that's got sugar or casein, we want to try to avoid. So then I tend to not eat until about noon or 1. So I tend to eat I stop at about 8 p.m. and then I start back again about noon or 1 p.m. And really, the only reason I eat around 1 p.m. is because it's like time to. I'm not starving. In fact, I probably feel better in the 3 or 4 hours prior to lunch than I've felt all day because my body's now utilizing ketones for fuel. It's literally, I'm burning fat to fuel my body, which is more balanced, it's more stable, there's less ups and downs, and it's a more preferred fuel source. Now the trick, when you eat your first meal, you don't want to refill the liver. So don't eat the pizza right after you finished your fast. Do like, a salad or avocados or coconut oil or chicken or something that's lean, high fat, moderate to low protein, and very little, if any, carbohydrates. And you'll notice you'll feel better too. If you eat a big starchy meal after you fast, you're going to be in bed. Like you're just going to feel blah. So if you can eat like a low carb, moderate to low protein, high fat, it should be about 70% fat, 20% protein, and about 10% carbohydrate. Why are we keeping protein low? Because I've been told that protein, you got to have high protein. That's how you lose weight, is you increase protein. Why is excess protein bad? Do we know what that turns into?
Your body only does like 40 grams of protein anyways?
Yeah, that's if you're a bodybuilder on steroids, probably. Yeah, you're right. For women, it's more like 10. Like women can utilize maybe 10 grams, 12, maybe 15, maybe 20 of protein at a sitting. Most men are like 15 to 20, maybe 25 at the most at a sitting. The excess that your body doesn't need turns into sugar. So when you eat too much protein, when you eat a massive breast of chicken, which is like 60 grams of protein, most of that, except the corner of it, is going to sugar, and then it's being stored as fat, and then we got to turn around and use it again. So this is kind of how we hack our metabolism. And then at night, this all depends on your goal. So if you're at your goal, you're happy with where you're at, then for dinner, let it rip a little bit. Like I had pizza last night. I mean, did you want a burger, birthday party, a little dessert? Go after it. Now, if you're trying to reach a goal, if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're reversing type 2 diabetes, you got to be a little stricter, a little longer. Does that make sense? So we've got to have to stay with it depending on your goal. But then cheat meals and splurges are always good. So the benefits of intermittent fasting, and this is just IF. This is not even adding the ketogenic diet necessarily. They have some of the same benefits, but your decreased insulin, increased ketones. And it reduces a hormone called ghrelin. That's your hunger hormone, which tells your body to eat more, eat more, eat more. So that goes down. You're actually hacking your hormonal system by doing this. Increased insulin sensitivity, which you guys know what type 2 diabetes is. It's decreased insulin sensitivity, so it's doing the exact opposite. Reduced energy uptake, reduced inflammation, reduces cell proliferation, aka colon cancer. Brain, improved cognitive function, neurotrophic factors, stress resistance, and it reduces inflammation. You'll see a key common factor in some of these, all of these, is it reduces inflammation throughout the body. That's the key benefit. It reduces your fat cell production, reduces leptin, which is the hormone that tells you to burn fat. So we burn out our leptin receptors, and instead of saying burn fat, it's going like burn fat, burn. Like our body can't hear the signal to burn fat. So that gets that back on track. And insulin sensitivity It increases muscle mass. It's that simple.
How many times a week are you supposed to do it?
I do it every day, every day. But at the end, after we finish tape, we're gonna do a little Q&A at the end, so we'll eat, ask questions, and fire away. How are we doing on time?
It's 6:55.
Okay, you guys bored yet? No? Okay. Some supplements that I use on a daily basis. We have a pack from doTERRA. It's all whole food, quality proteins or quality supplements. They're made from food. So when you get supplements, you're either getting synthetic or you're getting whole food supplements. If they're made in a lab, then they're named Centrum, they're doing you more harm than they are good. Like they've actually found Centrum in the septic system with the label still clearly written on it. Like there was a lawsuit several years ago that was clogging up the septic system because and their products still had the label, which is a good thing because you don't want your body to even break that stuff. You'd rather just pass it through instead of breaking it down and getting what's in it. So we do it's a 3-part series. So there's an omega, there's a multi, and there's an anti-inflammatory antioxidant complex. So it's basically giving you everything you need all in one. You take it every day. There's like 4 per thing, so it's 16 pills, or no, it's 12 pills. So you do it 4, 4, 4, which seems like a lot, but you take 12 of these now, or you take 15 drugs later. So it's kind of whichever way we want to go. And we have an amazing sign up. There's a front booth at the front where we can kind of explain everything about doTERRA. It's a phenomenal company. So exercise, I want to touch on this real quick. I know we're running kind of low on time. That's how we do it in America. So we're going to the gym, we take the escalator, right? Or even worse, where'd my picture go? I had a picture of a lady walking her dog out of the car window, and Jordan took it off of here. So
That was hilarious.
I know, that was my best one. So in order to burn fat, we've been told you got to get your heart rate up into that fat burning zone, like whatever that arbitrary number is where you're burning fat because your heart rate's at a certain amount. And you got to keep it there for 40 to 45 minutes. That doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter how many calories you burn on the treadmill or how high your heart rate gets for how long it matters what you tell your body to do later. Just like with this stuff. It's like this is what we're signaling our body to do later. So what we burn during the exercise is not nearly as important as what we burn afterwards. And with this, you can literally burn more in 12 minutes than you can with an hour of traditional exercise. The trick with this, it's high intensity, very short duration. So whatever you do, you want to try to reach failure within 20 to 30 seconds. So whether you're on a stationary bike or you're running in place or you're doing like a punching exercise or squatting or you're doing weights, try to reach failure within 20 to 30 seconds. And then the rest period is like that's the key is you want to be out of breath. Like you don't want to be able to do 24 seconds. Or 34 seconds. Like you want to reach failure at 20 or 30, which by the way burns up all the sugar that's stored in the muscles. And if you haven't eaten in 10 hours, guess what your body's using for fuel in hyperdrive while you're doing all that exercise? Fat. So that's the other key. So the coffee and then adding in the exercise before you eat your first meal. 20 on, 20 off, 20 on, 20 off. After I think it's 6 minutes, you're done. So it's literally about 4 minutes of total exercise, and you're doing about 6 minutes. I do a 4-minute cardio. My cardio program is 4 minutes a day, not even every day. But it's 20 seconds on the treadmill or on the stationary bike. I stop it or just barely do it for 20, and then I go for 20. I look like a maniac, but like that on and off after 4 minutes, that's it. That's all you got to do. And then the next 24 to 48 hours, you're burning more fat, and you're a fat burner, not a sugar burner. So this last part, this is really the most important part, real quickly before we get through this, and it's how our body works. It's how we're designed to operate, because you can eat all the best food in the world, but if you don't really know where health comes from or how our body functions, then food recipes and exercise programs don't really matter a whole lot. So health, it's really no coincidence that the word health has the word healing in it, because our bodies are designed to heal. If you cut yourself with like a paper cut, your body heals. You don't have to pray over it, or you don't have to do anything to it. You guys have that little rubber band? Get your rubber band and put it on your finger. Put it kind of tight on your finger. Leave it there for a minute. Don't do it too tight, or a lawsuit. Leave it on your finger.
He is supposed to do it.
Yeah, I know, right? So here's how we know how your body works, how God designed you, is that you can go about a month with no food. The way you know how important something is to your body is a good barometer is how long you can live without it. So food's important, we have to have food, but we can last a month with no food. Like we can live, no food for a month, we're still alive. We've seen Survivor, those people are still alive after a month. But water, you can only go like a few days. You can only go a few days with no water. So water is actually more important to your body than food. Air, you can only hold your breath a few minutes, so air is actually more important physiologically than water, than is food. You get that? You with me? And then the last one is nerve supply. So you can't go a second. If your brain can't talk to your body and tell it how to run and operate and function, you can't live a second. Like if I cut your head off here, how quickly are you dead? Quickly, like instantly, right? Is that a belief or a fact? Put that rubber band around your, no. Yeah, like you can't live a second. So that's the system that runs our body. So how important is it to keep that system running right for as long as we can? Right? That's our master control system. So the way this works is kind of like the fuse box in our house. Like if you go to the garage, I know nothing about electricity. Like I'm willfully ignorant about electricity. I don't care about circuits. I don't really. So what happens is, the other night I was plugging in the
Oh my gosh.
the DVD player, and all the lights in the room went out like. Shh. So I just immediately listened for my wife's voice, and sure enough, in like 3 seconds, she's like, "Brett, just fix it." Like that's all she wants to do, just fix it. So I stagger into the garage, where the contractor was sweet enough to write like all the names of all the rooms 6 years ago, so it's all smudged. I can't see any of the names of what rooms any of these switches go to. So what I do is I just kind of feel down, and everybody ever done that?
Yeah.
Just feel down for like the one that's a little out of position, and that's the one that I switch. So it's really that simple. I switch that, and then all the lights in my bedroom magically come back on, and the VCR is working. So it's that quick. I know, that was intentional. So that's literally that's what we do. So when you're getting examined, when we're checking or seeing how your body works, we're checking your circuit breaker. So when God made you, He put your spine is literally your circuit breaker. It's protecting all the wires that travel to every part of your body. So the nerves that go to your neck and shoulders also control your sinuses, and the nerves that go to the middle of your throat also go to your arms, and the ones that go to your upper back go to your heart and lungs and your digestive system. So it's literally like a network of wires. So our job is to find where your spine is in or out of position, and then use an adjustment to get it back into the right position. It's very straightforward. So we take the pressure off the nerves that are telling your body how to work. It's pretty simple. My job is so easy. I got the best job on the planet. Now, I mean, you gotta know where to adjust, and you gotta know how to do it, but your body does the healing. Like I don't have to heal your liver or your kidneys or your back pain. All we have to do is help your body do what it's already trying to do anyway. So we support it with nutrition, we remove pressure to the nervous system so your body can heal and function, and then we teach you how to move and exercise the way God made you. It's pretty simple. So it's a pretty amazing process. All right, that finger. Everybody hold at your finger? So that's what happens. When your spine moves out of position, that nerve is your finger. So when it's out of alignment, it's pinching that nerve. That's what happens. The spine moves out of position, it starts pinching the nerve. So how would we fix that pinched nerve problem? Like, would it be a good idea to exercise? We all believe in exercise, right? We all believe. Exercise your finger. You might still have it on there. What's it feel like?
It lost no feeling. I mean, it's
Done.
gone. It's done.
Gone.
Long ago.
So it's not functioning properly, right?
Correct.
So would exercise fix the problem? Or like stretch it, I'm all for massage, like massaging it, would that fix the problem? Or take Advil, or I mean, I'm all for prayer, pray over it, would that fix, or drink water, you might drink tons of water. The only way to fix that is to take the pressure off the nerve. Like it's really that simple, and that's what we do. And we see that in kids, babies that have been born by C-section because they get pulled out of the birth canal. Unnaturally, they fall off the changing table. They learn to ride a bike and learn how to walk, and they fall on the sidewalk, and adults fall on the ice and have car accidents, and then sit at a desk at a computer and their phone, and now they're texting for 72 hours a day. That's the life we live is destructive to this system. And only 10% of that nerve detects pain. So in your body, less than 10% tells you that you feel something. The other 90% is talking to your organs. So you can't just base it on pain, because by the time you feel it, you already got the rubber band on way tight. That's kind of how we work. So for guests, if you guys have never had chiropractic, we want to give you a gift, free x-ray day. So consultation, exam, x-rays, and first adjustment. So the x-rays and the adjustment together is $40. So normally $315. You get signed up tonight, you get a $40 exam, x-ray, first adjustment. It's all kind of included. So it's a way to give you guys a chance to check this out. And if you have family, that last page you guys are holding, yep. So it's a sign up for, thank you. Yep, the blue one. So if you got friends, family, you got a stubborn husband at home, sign them up. Best way to do it, just tell them it's date night, bring them over here on their appointment time, and we'll get them x-rayed, get them adjusted. But anyway, that's open to your friends, family, everybody that you want to sign up. We'll pass that into Jordan at the front. And then the other thing is that little card you have on the front of your, thank you, see that. So we started doing lunch and learns a little more aggressively now because, raise your hand if you know someone who needs to know some of this stuff. Like that's like everybody, right? So this is how we get to people you know. If you have a church group, small group, if you work in an office, we will bring lunch. So we bring tzatziki's, we bring food in, and they get free lunch, and we talk about health and some of this stuff in a condensed format, and then they get to learn about health, wellness, chiropractic, and it's kind of a win-win. So that's how we change the culture. It's very grassroots. It's boring. Drug companies have it way easier and a lot more money. We got to do it boots on the ground. So that's sort of how we do it. And then lastly is this RE life. I want to live, and I want everybody else that is part of my life to live an RE life. So it's a life that lives in the RE. So it's rejoicing and repenting and replenishment and recovery and redemption and remembering and restoration and recreation and just all these RE words. That's really how we should live our lives. Like we should live in the RE so that we never forget where we came from. On this same note, I've been thinking a lot about like legacy lately. I'm 41, so I've realized I may have more years in the rearview mirror than I have in the dashboard. Like possibly, right? It's possible. So I've been thinking about, I've got this dream, I guess this vision, dream, idea. So I'm 95 years old, like I'm 95, and I'm not like a decrepit 95, like I'm like a cool 95, like 95, like I got like white hair, like I still got some of my hair, but it's like bright white, so it's like white hair, probably like overly, I'm kind of like hip hop in a way. So I got like glasses, maybe a chain, and like a tan. I got like one of those ridiculous tans you see on the old guys who are 95.
Short hair.
Maybe abs, or like 2 abs, not 6, but like a couple abs. Still don't have any calves. It's like 95 years. Those things never happen. But I still got abs, right? So I'm 95, and I'm at the pool with my great-grandkid. So my little great-grandkid, he's 5 years old. We're at the pool, and we're going to go on the high dive, not the regular. We're up on the high dive, and he's down. You know, he's crying, he's scared. You know, he doesn't want to go on. He's like, Grandpa Ben, I don't want to go. I'm scared. I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. And so I'm there with him, and normally, like in my caveman days, I would have been like, you got to suck it up, man. You got to be tough. Let's be a man. Like all that coach speak that we give kids, like you just got to be tough. But instead, I kind of get down on one knee, and like I'm 95, so I get down, but I can't get back up. So look him in his eye and say, you know what, man? Like I'm with you. Like I love you. I don't care. I love you for who you are and who God made you. I want you to be who you are, and I don't care what you do, but I'm here with you. And he kind of wipes off his tears. He says, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go. Let's jump. So we stand. I guess I kind of hold him or whatever, and then we jump off the high dive together. I'm 95, and we hit the water, and he comes up, and he's happy, and he's affirmed, and he's confident, and he knows he's loved, he knows he's cared for, and we get to swim to the shallow end, and all my other great-grandkids are in the shallow end, and I'm throwing them like I'm that weird cool dad that's like throwing. Great-grand. Yeah, great-grand. And I don't even know these kids are like other people's kids. We're just chunking them. And my family's over here, and I get to feed my family. I get to feed those kids. I get to have my family and feed, and I'm not feeding them like chicken fingers and hot dogs, or even like avocado or spinach. I'm feeding them me and life and love and affirmation and confirmation and an accord and confidence and spirituality and God and life and love and feelings and emotions and longings and hope. I get to feed them me because I did more today. They get to do that later. And I think that's legacy. Legacy is something that's bigger than us, that goes beyond us, that doesn't even have our name on it, right? It's like 200 years from now, we're dead. Like 200 years from now, you're gone. Like it's over. And unless you're Abe Lincoln or Martin Luther King, LeBron James, like you're forgotten. Like we're just, remember old days they had like the names in the back of the Bible? Like you had like the family tree. Now you have Ancestry.com. They used to have the names of the family back in the back of the Bible. It's like Aunt Karen. Who's Aunt Karen? I don't know. It's a name in the Bible. So you're just a name in the back of that Bible. But the legacy we get is what we get to do for our family now, today, that carries on past us tomorrow. And I can't do that without my health. My health, if I'm sick, my spine's a mess, and I'm on 10 medications, and I can't function, and I'm tired, I don't have energy. You know, I can't do today what it takes to get those kids to that pool being fed tomorrow. So and I may not live past today. I've got today, but we got to make today great so we have a chance for better tomorrow. So anyway, I encourage you guys to get plugged in, ask questions, be needy, and then let us plug in any way we can. So thank you guys so much, and God bless.